Hey, this is Connor from BaseLang.com, and today I want to talk to you about how confidence learning Spanish is sort of like an onion.
Presented by BaseLang.com. Unlimited Spanish tutoring for $100 a month.
Now, I get questions all the time about how to improve confidence speaking Spanish. Now, here's just a few emails I've received recently from a few students saying, Jason, I studied it in high school and I remember a lot, but I don't really feel confident using it with real people. How do I overcome this? Alejandra told me my family's all Latin and I'm the only one who can't speak Spanish. And although I speak a little bit, when they all sit down and start talking to each other really fast, I get lost and I shut down. How can I stop getting embarrassed and shut down when they start speaking fast? And then from Patrick, I feel like I know a ton of Spanish, but when I actually come face to face with a real speaker, I just freeze. So if this sounds like you, you're not alone. Now, I actually ran a survey recently of a couple hundred, about 672, something like that, a couple hundred Spanish learners, and there were two really big challenges. I asked everyone, what's your biggest challenge with learning Spanish? And there were two big things. The number one was confidence. I think it was 45% of the respondents said that confidence actually speaking was their number one challenge. It wasn't learning grammar or memorizing words or pronunciation, but confidence. Now, the other half was how to understand people when they talk fast, and I'll cover that later. But in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how confidence when you're learning Spanish actually works, because it's not like most people think. It's not an on-off switch. It's not something you have or you don't have. It's much more nuanced than that, and I'm going to explain that to you in this video so you can understand how it works in Spanish and how it works, in general. So before we dig in, we need to define what exactly is confidence. Because a lot of people get mixed up. It's like, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. You just gotta stick out your chest and, No, it's not like that at all. In fact, evolutionary psychology actually has a really good idea of what confidence actually is. So my favorite definition is from PhD Geoffrey Miller, and what he says is, his definition is, confidence is the realistic expectation you have of being successful at something, given A, your competence at it, and B, the risk involved with doing it. Okay, so why is this such a revolution? Okay, so he uses the example of a car, driving a car. When you first start driving, you have zero competence. And because you're driving a very large machine at high speeds in a volatile environment, it's extremely dangerous. So you have very low confidence because A, your competence is low, and B, there's a high risk involved with doing it. But as you begin to drive more and more, you begin to have competence, and the risk starts to go down because you're more comfortable in different situations. But your first time driving in rain, you probably had a little bit lower confidence. You didn't know how to handle the road maybe, or in snow, or in hail, or in different conditions. Each time you're sort of pushing the envelope of what you're confident driving in further. By the time you're in your mid-20s, you've seen it all, and you're confident. You've driven successfully and safely hundreds, if not thousands of times, probably thousands, and you're not really worried that your 6,723rd is going to be the one where you screw it up, because you've got 6,000, other ones that you just did just fine. So it's actually the exact same with learning Spanish. So here's how it works. When I say confidence is sort of like an onion, this is what I mean. After not very much time learning at all, you've said the greeting with people a couple times. You're no longer really nervous that you're going to screw up. Hola, ¿cómo estás? You're not like, you're not worried that you're going to screw up that greeting. After you've done it, 20, 30 times, you're not really worried that after 31 times of doing it correctly, that you're going to screw it up on the 32nd time. It's just going to come out. So that's your little sliver of confidence. That's the innermost thing of your onion. And what you're doing here is you're not turning confidence on or off. We're constantly expanding this sort of onion, or this ball of sphere of confidence that you have, to more and more topics, more and more grammar, more and more accents and speaking speeds, and that's what we're talking about here. So that's how confidence actually works when you're learning Spanish. So how does this work? So you have hola, ¿cómo estás? And you're confident saying that. Then you expand to, basic expressions and asking what the time is and, the basics. And then you move on to, having an actual conversation, whether it's advanced or not. And then you move on to actually being properly conversational. And then you expand the topics that you can talk about. And as you're doing this, you're building more and more layers onto basically your onion of confidence of things you're comfortable talking about. After you've had a conversation about, your favorite places to travel like 50 times, you're not really worried that when the subject of travel comes up, that you're going to choke. Because you've talked about that many times before. So the 51st time won't be an issue. So what I'm trying to get at here is that it's not a matter of being confident or not being confident. Although the more you build this confidence, the bigger your onion gets, the more it sort of snowballs. And once it's a certain size, maybe you're conversational, and you've learned a lot of different concepts or techniques, you're more apt to bring a little bit more confidence, feel a little bit less risk going into new subjects because you've already conquered a bunch of other subjects. So the basic framework here is, okay, so now you understand how the confidence works as it builds. It's something that just is always ever expanding, and you're not an on-off switch, but you just add something else that you're confident in. Like for instance, when I was learning Spanish at the end of the month when I shot the documentary, one of the last topics that I learned was he ido, I Seto, that tense. And at the time, that was really, really hard for me. And I had to, whenever I needed to use it, and I often didn't use it when I should, because I would just default to boy because I didn't know. So at that time, it was really difficult. Now it just flows out. It's just like blah 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 blah, and it just comes out just like it would in English. And that's because I've used it so much that I'm confident in it, and it flows. So the same way that you take something you know intellectually and you build it into something you can say in speech and it just flows out of your mouth, it's the same way you build confidence. It's the same thing. So now that you know how confidence works, how do you actually use it? How do you actually build this confidence in your Spanish speaking? Well, the only way to build confidence when you're speaking Spanish is to actually speak Spanish. And you have to do this a lot. And you got to do it for every layer. So as you build out the things you're comfortable talking in, this core, say you build out to a conversational level and you've got topics that you're comfortable with. You build that, that's not going to go away. You're going to be comfortable with that, but you're always constantly going to be pushing it a little bit farther. So that's sort of the way that I go about learning vocabulary. That's the way I go about learning grammar, is you learn something new and then you practice it in a real conversation. And you'll hear me talk about this over and over and over again in these videos, on the blog, and everything I put out about how to learn Spanish quickly, because it is so fundamentally true that you cannot get away from it, is that you have to speak, and you have to speak as much as possible. Because the only way to build this confidence, to move something from you knowing it intellectually, you could study something with an app, with a textbook, with an instructional video like the ones we provide on our blog. You can learn it intellectually so many ways and sort of know it, but you actually unlock that knowledge so that it comes out naturally in conversation, and so that you can, add it as a layer on your confidence onion. You have to speak. You just have to speak. And it's nothing you can get away from. And that's the only way to build your confidence, is to build that competence, to build that experience actually using the things that you want to use. And, if I got in a conversation right now, about philosophy, then I wouldn't be very confident in that situation. I would have to hack through it with, the words that I knew, because I don't know the words for existentialism and, how to discuss the meaning of life in Spanish yet. I'm still, months after the documentary finished, I'm still pushing forward. I'm farther along and I'm doing better, but I'm still, you've got diminishing returns and there's more topics to cover. And once I've got to that conversational point where I can sit down with anyone, have a normal chit-chat conversation, talk about normal topics, where I can have a conversation with them about my life, about their life, about, what we're doing. Once I've gotten to that point, now I'm just adding topics and adding a little bit more advanced grammar, and the way I do that is I learn it, and then I practice it. So let's use another example outside of language learning. Right now, I'm speaking to you in front of a camera, alone. Oh, I'm not alone. In a park. I'm coming to you now from Parque de Presidente in Medellin, Colombia. And let's walk you through the confidence onion of speaking in front of a camera, for instance. So when you first start, talking in front of a camera, you put a camera in front of you and you're like, all right, okay, and you say something. Say you've got something you need to say, or you're trying to shoot a video of some sort. You're going to freeze, you're going to choke, you're going to make tons of mistakes, and then you're going to be like, shit, oh, God, I made a mistake again. And then you'll make the same mistake, and you'll keep choking and keep choking. And that's how you are the first time. You've got no confidence, you've got no confidence doing it. And eventually, you get comfortable sitting in your bedroom looking into a camera and looking into a lens and actually being able to say something. So you've built that first layer. And then the next layer is, now you're standing in front of a camera and you've got something longer to say, and you've got to not choke when you're just talking about something much longer. Like I've been talking here for more than 10 minutes, and I'm not working off a script, but I'm working off of something I know I need to talk about. I know the hitting points I need to talk about. And if you have low confidence speaking in front of camera, you're going to blank halfway through. It's like, oh shit, I forgot everything else I was supposed to say. So the second layer is being able to remember longer stuff. The next layer is having someone behind the camera, a guy on sound, shooting, to get good audio quality. And now you've got people present. And you're still in your apartment or you're in a recording studio. And then the next step, and what I'm doing right now is I'm actually shooting this by myself, but I am in public. There's actually, I'm in a public park here, and there's people walking around. I don't know if you've seen them walking by me as I've been talking. I've been completely zoned out. There's a big group I'll show you in the edit over here having yoga. I've, had some people looking over at me from that. But if I tried to speak in front of a camera publicly in a public park with people around, my first time speaking in front of a camera, it wouldn't work. So just like speaking Spanish, this is just another example of how confidence works like an onion, where you're building and building and building. The next step would be for me to deliver this on the street when there's people walking by, or in the presence of important people, or if I'm in a really busy area, where there's even more people. And eventually you're just building, what you're comfortable with. And it's the same way with Spanish. So you have to start with what you know intellectually, and then use real practice in a real conversation to get it to the point where you are confident in that, and you push it a little farther and you build more and more layers. And that way, it's not an on-off switch, but an ever-expanding things that you're confident speaking about. All right, so where can you speak? Now, I'm biased here because we run BaseLang.com, where you can get unlimited Spanish tutoring for $100 a month. But the most important thing here is not that you use BaseLang, although that is, in my opinion, and in the opinion of our students, it is, the most cost-effective, and, the teachers are extremely high quality, and you're getting so much for what you're paying for. And it's the best way to go about speaking a lot. But whether you use BaseLang or not, the principles I've talked about in this video still apply. I don't care if you speak with us. I don't care if you use us. What I care about is that you speak, because that's what's going to get you from not being confident speaking Spanish to, being the one in the middle of a party, laughing and joking with a bunch of different people. And that's the only way to do it, is to speak. All right, so that's it for this video. And if you like this video, what we want to do now is share it publicly on Facebook and tag the BaseLang Facebook page in your post. And we're going to give you a free 30-minute class with one of our teachers, so you can actually, start having a conversation, start speaking, and get it rolling. You can do this with all of our posts if you just want to, have a bunch of free practice, or you can go ahead and start using BaseLang. Your first week is just $1, and it's completely risk-free. And all right, that's it for today. Go ahead and share this post with your friends, get that free class, or go ahead and sign up with BaseLang to get started speaking. And I hope you have an awesome day. I hope you improve your Spanish. I hope this video was useful. And until the next video, have an awesome day and keep learning Spanish. Technology is revolutionizing language learning,
But is that really a good thing? What I want to talk to you about is the most advanced